Hello, Blue 6 ELA students. Today we're going to be talking about irony. So one of our learning skills for our next story in the collection, The Mixer, one of the skills is irony. So I want to talk to you about irony today so that you can use this when we go into the story and have to identify some examples of irony. So let's take a look at what irony is, starting with its definition. So irony is the contrast between what appears to be true and what is actually true. So that word contrast, we know that means they're different. So what appears to be true is different than what is actually true. There's three different types of irony that we're going to be talking about. Situational irony, dramatic irony, and verbal irony. So as we go through and take a look at these three different types, you'll get to see some examples as well. And we'll talk a little bit about those when we get to them. So situational irony is a contrast between what is expected and what actually happens. We see that word contrast again. So they're different. What we expect and what actually happens are different. Looking at the example here, we see a snowman whose favorite season is summer. So the expectation would be that a snowman's favorite season would be when it's nice and cold, like winter. But in this case, the snowman's favorite season is summer. So what we expected and what is actually true are different. Dramatic irony is another type of irony we're going to talk about. So this is when the reader or audience knows something that a character does not. And great writers and authors, they use dramatic irony to help build suspense in their story. We've talked about plot in class, and in the rising action of the plot, that's when you start to build that suspense. A great way to build suspense is including dramatic irony in your writing. When the reader knows something like a secret that the character doesn't know, it's going to keep them engaged and wanting to keep on reading to see what's going to happen to that character when they find out this secret. So a great way to build that suspense is to incorporate dramatic irony. Looking at this example, Snow White does not know that the apple is poisonous, but the audience does. So the audience got this sneak peek and saw that the queen poisoned this apple, but Snow White, our main character, does not know that it is poisonous. So the reader or the audience wants to keep watching to see what's going to happen next. The third type of irony is verbal irony. So this occurs when what is said is different than what is meant. And so sometimes this can be sarcasm. Verbal irony and sarcasm can be the same thing. So sarcasm is always verbal irony, but verbal irony is not always sarcasm. It's only sarcasm when the speaker is being negative. Their intent is negative. And looking at this example, it actually is sarcasm in the example. So Tom looked out the window and saw a thunderstorm. He said to his wife, "Beautiful weather we're having." So we know that Tom doesn't actually mean that the weather is beautiful, and his tone is negative. So we know that this is Tom being sarcastic. Okay? So these are the three types of irony, and I want to challenge you guys to try and identify irony, not just when we look at the mixer, but in your everyday life. Irony is everywhere. You'll see it in movies, you'll see it in books, and you'll hear it when you're talking with your friends. So I want to challenge you to see if you can find irony in your everyday life as you go throughout your day. So we're going to be talking about irony again when we come back to the mixer. So I hope this was helpful to give you a brief overview of irony, and I will see you in class.